Good evening. We'll call the meeting of the Acton School Committee budget meeting along with the Warrant and Finance Committee to order at this time. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Again.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any adjustments to the agenda that we have?
There are none for this evening.
Okay.
We do have a few opening remarks and process order things before we dive in, if I may.
Go right ahead.
I thought we might start. We've had some turnover in our meetings and different people joining us on different nights. The process, I think, has gone extremely smooth since we started. And I thought maybe we'd just start tonight with introductions, maybe starting with Kim Oliver and coming my way and ending with Andy, so everybody at the table and then the audience knows who we are.
Yeah, Kim Oliver, Personnel and Finance Director.
Kim Stacy, Selectman.
Tom Gore, Warrant and Finance.
William Williams, Chair, Warrant and Finance.
Roland Waterhouse, Warrant and Finance.
Sarah Cognata, Warrant and Finance.
John Ross, Superintendent Principal.
Judy Shane, Chairman, School Committee.
Jeanette Burrs, School Committee.
Mary Stanton, School Committee.
Amanda Cobb, School Committee.
Kevin Perks, School Committee.
Del Peavy, Special Services Director.
Virginia Shea, Warrant and Finance.
Andy Brazier, Director of School Maintenance.
Terrific, thank you, everyone. I passed around the 6 strive statements just to keep us focused on the work that we have tonight. I will collect those, maybe at the end of the meeting, just leave them on the table, I'll pick them back up. Our 6 strive statements are: we will strive to work together as a community that values the education of that our children receive at AES. We'll strive to be fully present at the meetings by becoming familiar with materials and by being attentive. We'll strive to invite and welcome the contributions of every member and listen to each other. We'll strive to be involved to our individual level of comfort. Each of us is responsible for airing disagreements during the meeting rather than carrying those disagreements outside the meeting. We'll strive to operate in a collegial and friendly atmosphere, and we'll strive to be responsible for examining all points of view. We're going to be looking at Articles 8, 2, and 3 tonight. Those are our agenda items that we'll focus on this evening. Next meeting will be March 6th. When we meet on March 6th, we'll be wrapping things up. We'll be looking at revenue, which we'll have together for you. Then we'll be looking at the revenue side. We've only been looking at the expense side up to this point. We'll be discussing reserve accounts on the 6th, and we'll be looking at the overall budget and the overall process. The budget book then can start being completed after that meeting, and it's my intent to include what Dr. Williams and some members of the Warrant and Finance Committee gave as a recommendation on our very first night, which is to have some school comparison data on what's the bang for the buck, I think was the term that was used. I thought that was excellent. We've been culling that information, we've been gathering that information, but now's not the time to really present it. The time to present that is once we have a budget. Once we have a budget, the budget book will come together. We'll put that information in that budget book. The school committee will have an opportunity to take a look at that budget book and make any recommendations, and so will the Warrant and Finance Committee, just like last year, and we'll follow the same process. So with that said, are there any questions about the process moving forward before I start getting into the line items on the articles this evening? Okay, seeing none. Tonight, I put my overall at the front, so I'm just like the rest of you. So, right, if you remember, mine were in the very last piece. So you see the overall of budget 8, school administration, and just a quick reminder for everybody at the table, I'll be going down the lines in line A, starting with, in this case, 224, and we'll be looking at going left to the right. We'll be taking a look at the different areas, and I think that narrative is the most important piece where questions come up, and I have people at the table to help with those answers. So 224, principal salary, working left to right. There's a $1,589 increase or 2.75%. And then below that is the support salary of the front office person that works with the principal. Again, 3.74% overall, or a $1,200 increase.
Question.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure, the principal salary, and then last time we did superintendent salary, so it's the same. That's not the same number, it's both together. Okay, so it's 100 and,
They're in two different places.
okay. But tell me about the benefits. The benefits are also additional and separate?
Kim, can you answer that one on how you broke out
For
the
example,
benefits of
the
position?
insurance and things of that
Half of
sort?
it was in one article.
So it's just 50/50?
It's 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so all the benefits are listed here, as well as the valid ones we had last time. So it's like 20,000 for the principal group insurance
Yes.
and
Yes, it's
superintendent / principal group
Yeah.
insurance. Okay.
So you picked up on the benefits on 227 and 228. And then 229 and 30 are also those insurances. I'm just gonna kind of take them collectively. If you have any questions, let me know, because that's how we've been doing it with the others. And that's your medical piece there and your narrative.
You skipped one, sir.
You did? Which one?
226.
226 subs.
Well, the substitutes are within there. Okay, so it's the substitutes.
That's for.
Oh, okay, that's a new
Yeah.
one, okay. And that's a new one because we added it this year because we found we didn't have a substitute line. We found that also in one other area, it was Article 6, if I remember
The
right.
library.
In the library, you're gonna find that we didn't have, because when you look at a pool of employees within an article, she's the only employee in that article, meaning I don't have a substitute.
Right.
But we do need a sub-secretary. Thank you for noticing that, and thank you, Kim, for putting that in. This year, the budget will reflect that. So with that, we would now be down to 231, which is the substitute benefits, which follows 226.
Can I back up and just ask a question back on 227?
Mhm.
Kim, I guess this goes to you. Why would we break out Medicare separate from Social Security as a benefit? I see in
Social Security. People that are on main PERS, they only pay Medicare, they
Okay.
don't pay Social Security.
okay, right, okay. Thank you.
And a quick one too, just for the narrative, to go back to 224. I would just make it clear that, because looking at somebody who doesn't know the context, principal and superintendent are the same person.
Mhm.
I would just add that in the context, that,
That would be very helpful.
yeah,
I agree.
and in particular, which line item, it's, I'm sorry, I'm looking, Kim, I'm used to having you over here to my left. I'm all discombobulated. And if we can maybe have a reference to what other line, because we're talking 2 lines for one person, that could be confused. I would do a reference,
Reference.
see also line, what have you, so that would.
Health insurance also.
So I'm gonna bring us down to 233.
I have one other question, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'd like to ask Ms. Oliver, correct me how this works as far as teachers are concerned with regards to health insurance. Is any portion of the health insurance which teachers pay considered a part of their gross income taxable?
It's pre-tax.
Nope.
They pay it, okay, but it's on a pre-tax basis because we have cafeteria plans, so whatever they pay in for medical, dental, it brings their federal taxes down,
Okay,
okay.
Is that a healthcare savings account, basically?
It's not an
No.
HSA, that's a different, so in other words, you can have, like, if they have union dues or life insurance, it's after tax. I can't use it, but medical, dental, and a 403B are
Yeah.
pre-tax.
dollars, TSA.
This-
They come off the gross to
Yeah.
get to the taxable line.
Just on the federal and the state level, but not on.
so the
not on-
part they pay plus the part that the school board pays, or the town pays, would be considered pre-tax?
Not what the town pays. The only deduction that goes
Or the
against their
school board?
salary.
In the contracts?
No, just
The
the
employees have a
20%.
portion in which they pay, and then we pay the remainder, 80-some-odd
Right,
percent.
86%.
86%. Okay, and that 86% is not, or is considered then as part of their gross?
That's
not-
It's not. Okay,
No.
and the part that they pay is deductible for them?
No.
It's-
Medical.
pre-tax, it's.
That's all pre-tax, all of it.
In other
Part
words,
they
it
pay
can
and the
be
part we pay.
pre-tax.
Okay, that's all I wanted to do is clarify it. Thank you.
The reason why I jumped down to 233 is this is the first time, I think, in the budget we've seen a 125 flex plan. Is that correct, Kim? And I just thought maybe does this language 125 flex come up before? Did we address it with the committee?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's,
I don't recall that we did. That's why I wanted to give an explanation before anybody asked
Good.
about it.
employees can ask to be part of a flex plan. So in other words, any portion that you want to set aside for deductibles, for co-pays that you have to pay, you know, things that are not covered by the insurances, or dental, okay? That employee would set aside, like, if they said, okay, I'm gonna put $1,000 in it this year, then it's divided by the number of pay cycles they have, and it's taken out of their salary. It's pre-tax, because the 125, we have a cafeteria plan with Maine School Management, so this is what this is.
So that's sort of like an HSA then?
Right, but it's all paid, it's funded by the employee, not
Yeah.
by the school. But the school does, to be able to have an encompassing cafeteria plan, you have to pay for the administrator, and that's the $300 a year, which we've had for
A while.
since I've been here.
And there's no increase, but this is the first time we're looking at benefits tonight, so I was hoping we're gonna see it in other places. There's a couple of big articles, regular ed's in here and special ed's in here, so we're gonna see it a lot, so I just thought we'd try to get most of those questions out of the way now.
On these pre-tax items, do they have to use that up by a certain type, by a certain date?
The flex plan, yes.
Use
It's
it or
a
lose
use
it.
it or lose it.
Yeah.
So if you
Okay.
don't use it, I mean, that's why you wanna, when somebody wants to join, I'll say, you know, you need to figure out how much you think you're gonna spend for the year, because if you don't, you can only carry over for so much, and you can only carry it for so long, and then it,
Yeah, similar to the healthcare spending accounts in the
Mm.
corporate world.
yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
I get it.
So with your permission, I'll go to 234, which moves us into software maintenance agreement, which is flat. It was $725 last year, $725 this year. That is that Blackboard alert system that we use for just about everything to contact parents and staff. It's our automated alert system for our phones.
Via email?
Email and text. Email, text, and phone.
All at the same time.
Yeah, well, you get all of them.
Mine does too.
235 is the telephone with a reduction of $700 for telephone expenses rolling over to next year. That's because you shopped back, Kim? Yeah, thanks. A little sharpened your pencil on that, I appreciate it. 236 is printing services, flat at $100. The travel and conferences for the front office is flat at $1,000.
Question.
Yes.
Did we not have some of that in the first session that we had last week? You're having to go to Augusta for various
Right,
things.
we had some reductions in that. That would be central office,
That would
that'd be
be
stuff that
central
you're doing.
office. That's,
Yeah.
this is for, like Eileen is going to.
Bangor next month.
Yeah, so this particular line item is strictly for the front office, and then that's why Article 8 is just the school administration, Article 7 was the.
So this is the front office and you all are separate?
Yeah.
Central
Right.
office.
Central office.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little confusing that I'm a body, but I've showed up in a couple of different places throughout the budget, because in most schools, it's 2 people. In this school, it's 1 person, but we still have to allocate the funding to the right article
I
for
understand.
EPS reasons, right? It took me a while to get the hang of it, too.
No more cloning.
So supplies under 238, flat at 1,800. And dues and fees at $1,000, flat, again, moving left to right on 239. Moving to the next page, you'll see Article 2. Your information and your variance is right there up front. We're now into teachers, which is this is probably our biggest article that we're looking at now is Article 2. Teacher salaries. I'm on line 1. And the teacher salaries are down 4%, almost 5% at $30,000.
Question.
Mhm.
How many teachers do we have? Not counting the teacher or the school nurse, teachers right now, how many do we have?
No, that's just for 3 to 8.
That's He's asking, but the warrant and finance is asking overall, so what I will do, so we can move on, is let's get that answer, because they're all gonna show up as different cohorts, because they're funded differently, 3 through 8,
Right.
pre-K through 2. So you can do the math as we hit the narrative, but I don't wanna take a chance of getting the math wrong. So let's go through the article and go back and answer the question, because they're all gonna show up.
It's difficult to pull them all out.
Correct, and they're put in here by groupings of certain grade levels. So I
Right.
recommend, question noted, and we'll answer it when we get to the end of the document, because we can add them up.
If it's easier to do it by cohort or
I
whatever,
think so, because that's how
fine.
they're broken out for cost center.
That's perfectly
right?
fine.
I think Kim counted in her head.
And the
already
same
got
would,
it?
the same would go for the education technicians.
Which we spoke about at school board tonight, we actually have that in print.
That was
Good.
9.
9
We have 9 on ed tax,
Whole school?
for the whole school.
Whole school.
and then divide it out.
And they
That
come at
includes
three,
the
they come
special
at
ed.
three levels, is that? is my
Ed tech
understanding
1,
correct?
2, and 3.
Okay, that's right, okay.
And the teacher numbers, Kim, if you've already got it, let's hear it.
20.
Right on the money?
What'd you say?
20.
We have 11 in 3 to 8, including our specials. We have one that's our Explore teacher. We have 4 that are in K to 2. We have 2 that are in pre-K, and we have 2 teachers that are special ed.
How many in pre-K?
2.
2.
And the last one was which?
2 in special ed.
Special ed?
Yep.
Good, thank you so much.
All right. So under regular instruction, ed tech salaries going across, up $1,700 or almost 3%, 2.97%.
I'm sorry? 7.14.
No, that's
And
substitute.
we're on line 2.
I'm on line
Oh, you're still on 1, 2, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm just about to hit line 3, which is substitutes,
Okay.
indeed. Up $938 dollars in real dollars, or 7.14% change increase.
And the reason for that is?
Because to meet minimum wage, because minimum wage went up at the beginning of this year, we had to bring up our substitutes up $5 on each level.
I see.
To meet the minimum wage for the amount of hours that they work in the building.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we're gonna get into benefits for teachers and benefits for ed techs with number 4 and 5. As there was a decrease in salaries, you'll see a decrease in the benefits in both areas.
We have fewer teachers, is that why the decrease?
Is it a change of
Yeah.
teachers or a decrease
Cha-
of a teacher?
It's a change in the total number of teachers that we need for our student population.
So that went down.
It went down.
Thank
And
you,
it's
sir.
reflected in here.
Thank you, sir.
Then you get into the professional group insurance and the ed tech group insurance. Pretty much the same language in the narrative. Turn to next page is number 8, where it's still in the benefits column with 8 for substitutes, 9 for retirement for teachers, and 10 is retirement for ed techs. Those top 3 of that page are all pretty much the boilerplate information under the narrative. We've seen that.
Question? Do teachers have the right to go and ask for Social Security rather than the main?
They can't.
They cannot. They
Teachers.
must take the main program.
And I believe under statute, teachers have to. Other groups do not have to and may or may not get into main state retirement. But that's the one system for public school teachers is main state retirement.
Okay.
Most of the New England states. right?
Yeah.
About the rest of the country.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to move on to number 11, which is repairs and maintenance. This looks like it's specific to piano tuning. Am I correct on that, Kim?
Piano tuning, and then I had
The decrease
a couple
here.
of teachers that were trying to repair some equipment as well in their
Okay.
individual budgets.
But it's gone down, so some of those things got
No, it's-
repaired.
It went up.
I'm
No,
sorry,
it's
it went
gone
up
up.
40, it went up $190, so we need to,
Because they don't always piano tune. It's done every, what, 3 years or something? I don't know.
No, it's
No,
done-
before a concert,
Done
I
a
think.
couple times a year.
Yeah,
Oh, it's twice
before
a
the
year.
concerts.
Twice
Yeah.
a year. Yeah.
It's piano.
Yeah.
We paid him last
But he does
2 weeks ago.
twice a year.
So what went down was the next one, which is the lease equipment
That's because our lease,
for $1,000.
yeah, Mike can speak
Mike's
to
here
that.
somewhere.
That's a copy of
Copy
the
of
agreement. It had gone down.
And then 13 is travel and conferences.
Again, this is for the teachers or the techs, or both?
Teacher.
The
Teachers,
teachers.
just teachers for, and there's a such as the NELMS conference for 6 through 8. And anything, travel and conferences for our teachers 3 through 8. There is a system for teachers to request professional development that has to be in line with the strategic plan of the school, in line with their cohort goals, and it has to be within the budget. Supplies, number 14.
NELMS stands for what?
New England.
New England League of Middle Schools, I think?
Middle schools.
League of
Is it league?
Middle
Yeah,
schools.
middle school. It's the middle school conference.
Middle School Conference, okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me, go ahead.
Sure, supplies is down $1,600 or 12%. Again, we're seeing a reduction in the amount of supplies that we need in that group.
Can I ask a question here on this
Yeah.
line G? You have certain boxes highlighted, and I've been trying to establish a correlation to something. I was just wondering why they're shaded.
If there, if it was in color, certain colors, if it was an increase, it would be pink. If it was an
Significant, though.
increase, it would be blue. It's just because it went over a certain,
Threshold.
Threshold. Because I was trying to correlate increase or decrease, and
No,
I was
it's
looking at the
both.
line next to it.
That's where I tripped up when they were both right.
Your threshold was 5%, 6%, or how was
Looks
it?
like it might be 10. I was trying to figure it out. Looks like it might be
It's
10.
an XL.
10%?
Excuse me.
One way or the other, up or down.
I don't know why I printed like.
So is that like, basic supplies is sort of like the classroom, what each classroom needs?
Right.
right, but you have one less classroom, so.
Yeah. I guess I'll do a revisit on that one, because again,
14. Yeah.
yeah, again, just the purpose being, there's very little in here that's actually, you put in the hands of actual kids.
Okay.
And classroom supplies are, so I want to make sure that we're
Sounds
not
good.
giving kids short shrift.
We'll look at the revisit on the 6th as well. We'll go back and look at all of them.
Thank you.
Ask the
Okay.
teachers for a wish list.
We do that at the very beginning of the process.
Ask them again,
Yeah.
maybe there's something extra here.
This is line 14, Kevin? you were
14,
commenting on
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
okay.
So I'm on 16 now, because testing, I mentioned, was flat on 15, and we went back and looked up. So 16 is books and
What
materials.
is the Fontes and Fennell benchmark?
It's a testing assessment that is used.
It's a literacy assessment,
Literacy.
reading.
Sorry.
This is our 3rd year fully using FEP. Right? This is my 2nd, so this would be our 3rd full year. Yeah, okay. Books and periodicals on number 16. Going across, it's down $243 or 4%.
We can revisit that one.
Yeah, okay. Same reason, right?
And it's-
Yep.
Same reason.
Kevin, the reason is that this one has gone down in particular is because, you know how we have our little bunny bump as classes go? Sometimes we have
We have
two
a double.
classes in one,
Wait.
okay?
So we have 2 classes in 1st grade, 3rd
Yeah,
grade.
yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah.
and in 5th grade, and they're all
Haven't heard
moving
it
up
called
next year.
that.
She called it a bunny. I'd never heard that either. She made that up tonight. Like, I didn't know where she was going.
Bunny bump.
Anyway.
Sorry, Kevin.
Easter, it's still February.
So, anyway, we've had to, every time the class moved, we always had to get a new set of textbooks, okay? But now with Math and Focus, we have all the textbooks, like each grade has 2 sets, okay? So now we're down to just ordering workbooks for every grade, so it's a math.
So here's a question, maybe if it doesn't take too much, so like, you're seeing this books and periodicals for textbooks per se.
Yeah.
To what extent does every single classroom have a sufficient classroom library? You know what I mean? So I know a huge fan of that, but you having the central library, but also classroom libraries are key.
And-
So I'm just,
Teachers that order, like there are teachers, certain teachers that will order more like reading books,
Yeah.
like sets of 4 and stuff like that. And they budget for that, and that is also
in there,
reflected in this number.
I just also know most teachers I know are constantly paying out of pocket for a lot of things for their
Sure.
classroom, for their kids.
Yes.
And just because they try to do, but it's always a tight budget season, so
So just to kinda, yeah,
they don't want to ask and
what the ask
value what we
was,
put in kids' hands more than anything else.
what the ask was on that particular line is what's in the budget. We didn't touch, Kim and I didn't touch that. Let me give you a for instance, where somebody might have put in, bring in a presenter for $3,000 or something. You might not see that because I found grant money to cover
Yeah.
that. We're not finding grant money to cover this. Speakers come, speakers go.
Yeah.
You get, so what you see is what they told us they needed.
Yeah.
I don't know, they tell us.
Yeah.
But there's other places where we got this budget down a little lower because Kim and I sharpened our pencils and said that can be paid, let's say, out of the rural grant. We're not outsourcing our textbooks to rural grants. So I would say that this is what they asked for. My guess is, looking at the professional staff, they know what they need best. So I'd say this is what they asked for. Want to put on the revisit list, we can certainly look at whether we need to increase or decrease or leave it alone. I think
Yeah,
that's a
well,
rich conversation.
Yeah, because I like looking at it in
Yeah.
perspective of where the overall budget is, and then sort
And
of
then what we
say,
got, right.
I mean, heck, if it, teachers
we
might
did-
say, this is what, I get by with $300 during the year, but if I had an extra $200, I could buy more books for my kids.
Kevin, you expressed concern about these line items last year also.
Every year I do.
Okay.
Every year. These are Kevin line items.
So, for the benefit of those of us who aren't working with us every day, what is your overall concern here? Just
I
so-
find that typically the discourse of budget, we always want to keep, typically with the town, we want to keep a flat budget. I really believe teachers own that, and they try to do what they can to sort of, pinch corners.
Yeah, yeah.
We're talking like, we're really concerned when we look at this about, the increases in the insurance, so that's going to make really things tight. When we actually look at the percentage of a budget that's actually stuff that puts in the kids' hands, it's astronomically small, exponentially
Correct.
small.
That's right.
And that's the last thing that should go down, and I feel like we scrimp on what we put in the hands of kids.
In other words, you think the value of that is
I think the value of that is higher than
Very
anything
high,
else,
very high.
and there's great data in regards to access to books.
Yep.
Even just being in physical proximity to books.
Yep.
Has direct correlations to achievement in high school and stuff like that. So the more books that are in a school, we know improves just so many other outcomes. And those are, I think, sometimes the first things that get cut. When there's a budget froze,
Yep.
everybody loses their classroom
Yep.
thing. So that's why I always want to bring it up, because I think it should be an important part of the discourse.
Thank you.
And just-
Yeah, no, thank you.
Just to add on to that too, like I know, excuse me, like at the beginning of the year when I see like the back to school time and I see so many of my friends on Facebook posting like, this is what my kid has to bring like to school. That, and I'm so thankful that we live in a community where I don't get that list, because I know that my kids already have the supplies that they need here, and like my kids' teachers may be in the classroom now. Like I feel like I'm like always offering like, do you need anything? Can I buy anything? Can I bring anything in? And sometimes it's been like this small thing, but like yes, more books could always be used, but like I've never felt like that my kids are lacking any supplies in the classroom or anything like that. So I'm not saying that if we come up with extra money that we shouldn't do that. I'm just saying like I've never felt like pressured like
Yeah.
that they don't have any supplies. So just wanted to add that.
No, I agree. Yeah.
As a high school
Kevin is just
principal,
trying
if
to
a
keep
kid
our
ever stole a
focus.
book.
You're just trying to keep our focus on it and make sure we
And
understand.
making sure it's part of the discourse, because again, insurance rates going up, no impact on kids, other than it tightens the budget and we start scrimping in other places.
Understand?
So we'll put an R on that one. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
17, equipment.
Which one?
Expenses for grades 3 through 8, including PE, music, and science, is down a little bit, $650, or 16% on 17. Move on to 18, which is another page.
Did we not have equipment for physical education before?
No, that
That was for
equipment.
co-curricular.
For something else.
I think it was for
That's the
co-curricular.
co-curricular. Yeah.
No, this is equipment for phys ed, music, science. In science,
Not for
one of the
sports, though.
biggest decreases is we got a lot of the PLTW kits.
Yeah.
Now
Project
we're
Leap
just doing refills, so we don't have to like
Good.
buy the original kits. We just need to continue to keep a refill, which is less money.
The question about athletic goods, probably fell into the area when we were looking at what the
Sports.
athletic director in sports, resupplying
Yes.
softballs,
Yes.
baseballs. That's different.
that's
This is our gym classes here in the school.
Oh, okay.
As well as music and science, as Kim mentioned. Yeah. So number 18 is our computer software. We talked about the NWVA a little bit earlier at our school committee meeting. And it's up $100 or 4%. And our dues and fees for grades 3 through 8 are down significantly, 84%. Our programs and concerts is flat at $500. 21 is our field trips.
Now, that's another one which showed up last week,
Yeah.
did it not?
Co-curricular transportation, for instance, a competition with Odyssey of the Mind would have showed up last time.
This is not transportation, though. This is the
Classroom field
actual
trips.
cost of
This is the,
going to wherever they're going.
Right.
This is
correct.
like classrooms though, not
Not
organized
clubs.
groups.
So the kindergarten
Field
class going to the apple orchard in the fall up at McDougal's is a good example of a classroom trip. It's only the kindergarten kids and the parent chaperones.
Well, this one's a big one too, where it has Canopy Lake Park.
It has the middle school year-end,
Yeah, the Boston Freedom
Celebration.
Trail's
Yep.
another one,
Trips to the State House,
Gundalo.
Museum of Science in Boston.
Okay, thank you.
so we were looking at 3 through 8, and if you take a look at 22, you look at teacher salaries, now we're looking at K through 2. So it's still teachers, the teachers that we counted in the building, but they're just broken out differently for reporting reasons. And we're looking at about collectively a $2,600 increase or just under 0.1%.
The Title I teacher is in a separate category?
Correct.
And where does that fall in as
No,
far?
it's in this category.
It's in this category, but
Yeah, I'm sorry.
we have a Title I federal grant that supports, that's what the note is about, is the Title I
Uh-huh.
federal grant.
Okay. So was that counted in the N equals 20 teachers that you gave us at the beginning?
Yeah,
Yes.
actually, that would make it, I'm sorry, 21.
It'll make 21 then.
Yeah.
And that's all covered by a grant totally?
Not
No.
totally,
No.
not anymore. That grant keeps shrinking.
Shrinking?
Used to be, yeah.
What else?
Yep. Okay,
It covers about 80% of her salary.
okay. Thank you.
So now on 23, similar to what we already looked at, we're looking at the EdTech Support for K2, and there's a note, moved one EdTech to K2 from special education. That's why your numbers are large. It was a shift in where they landed. It wasn't adding staff, it was we kind of reshuffled where they were at a cost center. Kim and I went over this a couple of times, because when you see 107%, there's gonna be questions, so the note, I think, is pretty clear. And then substitutes for that same group of people is on line 24. And then the last three, 25, 26, and 27 on that page are all dialed in as benefits to that group at K2, if you have any questions on those.
Getting back to 22 and 23 again,
Uh-huh.
clarify this Title I teacher shows up in 2 boxes?
No, Title I Ed Tech.
Oh,
So-
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay, the Ed Tech is that one.
It's a support person to the
Yep.
Title I reading program. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, very good. So I'm going to turn the page to get us to 28. And 28 is the group insurance. Again, we moved a person over, so you're looking at some large numbers. Yeah, that's due with where we categorized the person. We didn't add a person, we just moved the person, and for reporting purposes. 29 is substitutes within that group. It's a small decrease, $21, but it was 2%, almost 3%. And then 30 and 31 are the retirement, main state retirement pieces. Again, big number because somebody moved. So 30, 31 is retirement. Then if you take a look at 32, it's the percent of the copier used by K2. And that's down almost half, well, over half, 58%. So down $17.50 to a dollar value of $12.50.
How was that explained, that it's dropped so precipitously?
Well, when
The overall cost went down.
when Mike moved all the printer and copier contracts over to BEU, Business Equipment Unlimited, we had a portion of a lease that was in there, and the lease is all paid for the equipment. So this is the services that are specific to keeping the copiers running and all the printers running, so divided by
Right.
rates.
When you have a school-wide item, you divide it up amongst the different cost centers that use it, such as that one color printer that we have. So that's how we do it. Travel and conference is 33. It's flat at $2,300. 34 is supplies, which is flat at $6,300. And that's overall supplies for K2 and Title I.
Probably Kevin would like to revisit.
Well,
Didn't
wait.
change any.
That's supplies, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, put an R. Kim, you're keeping notes again, I hope, I assume? I didn't ask this time, I asked every other meeting, thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Testing. Testing is up, it says 100%, from 400 to 800.
This is the reading assessment, the same
200.
company.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
now it's 2 sets, and that's why you're
It's a
seeing.
second set,
It's a second set.
How long have we been going with them?
3 years.
So we have some data already as far as
We do.
as assessing the quality of the
They're good.
of the programs. They're good.
Found some analysis.
Excellent.
And what is the difference between the one and the two sets? I-
The cost. One set's 400,
Oh, I
and 2
see.
sets.
All right, you two. Kim couldn't help it.
Sorry.
Are we having two sets of tests, or
Yes,
what?
yes.
And why are you doing that? Is there a reason why?
Rachel Driscoll wanted her own set, and then for
Oh, okay.
Title I, and then K2 needed
Has their
their
own.
set, so that's why there was 2 sets.
They can calibrate, make sure they're on the same page. So that was testing, so now we're on 36 books and periodicals.
Again, same thing I said last time.
Yep. Want to put an R next to it?
I'm sorry. I got
We're on
lost.
36, it's textbooks for K2.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. And it's down almost 30%, or $1,100.
Yeah.
Equipment for the same cohort group is flat at 850. That was line 37. I change over to line 39 on a new page.
Gonna skip
38.
38.
38, sorry, I was reading line 1, not line A. 38, which is computer software, flat at 500. That's the NWEA testing. 39, dues and fees is up $20, or in that case, on $260 to $280, that's 7.6%. Programs and concerts is flat at $200.
Explain this. It says to cover for authors, literacy, and programs.
And-
What does that mean?
Visiting
So in
authors.
other words, we have, like Rachel would, they might have Shakespeare Theater, they might have a specific reading author that would come to the school wide. You see a portion of it here, but the majority of it is usually covered in the whole grant. Because we try to get as many programs in for school-wide programs that we can, but we use the rural grant specifically for a lot of them.
And this is for all students, or is this again for K2?
Well, it's,
It's-
with Rachel, she
Yes.
does, I mean, because
Through
she's the
fifth
one
grade.
that organizes it, it goes under K2.
Right.
But usually they're for school-wide programs. We
Okay.
still will have everybody go to the gym. It's
Sure, if
just
they
that
come into
she
assembly at
particular
school-wide.
You know, she's the one who organized that.
Okay.
And then,
So 41 is field trips for K2. I use the example of the apple orchard, it happened to be in this narrative. And it's up $200 from 18 to 2000, or 11%. Now we shift to pre-K on 42, you'll notice.
Excuse me again.
Yep.
That's in addition to the transportation costs that we dealt with last week.
No,
No?
this would
That's the
include.
money.
This
It would
is-
include
this
the
would include
transportation.
the transportation, correct?
yeah.
For the field trip, so to get the bus to take the
Yeah,
kids.
it is
Yeah, that's your.
transportation.
that's
It is
your-
transportation primarily?
Yes.
But there may be, in some cases, I want to be careful, in some cases, there may be a gate fee, I call it a gate fee. If you're going to a movie in Portsmouth or to the
Right.
theater, there may be a gate fee. So generally, the lion's share of this is going to be transportation. to
Okay, I
answer your
just
question.
wondered why it wasn't in last week's listing.
Transportation last time was regular runs, bus runs, and co-curricular only.
Right, we
Yeah.
were just talking about sports and
Sports
athletics.
and regular bus runs.
Okay,
Article 5, yeah.
Right. This is field trips, which would be an extension of the classroom,
thank you.
okay? So we just shifted on 42 to the pre-K area. Remember, pre-K is our 4-year-old program. And 42 is the pre-K salaries for the 2 teachers, which is up 6% or $5,359. And then we have the EdTech salaries. Now, with the EdTech salaries, you're going to see a decline because our enrollment in the pre-K from last year to this year went down, and I moved one of those EdTechs to support pre-K through 2. She stays in that wing generally and supports where she needs to. So that's your 21,000 and your 48% change. Person's still here, just in a different cost category. And then the substitutes for pre-K, for the teachers at 20-day is our standard. It's down
One less at
$581, right, with, or 15%. And then I think I can jump on 45, 46 as benefits. Again, you're gonna see the reduction because of the move of the person. This 47, 48, 49, 50, and 51. I'm just gonna stop. I just wanted to put my ruler down that all of those above are all the kind of fixed insurances
Yes.
or retirement, and there's some numbers there. So if you want to ask about any of those, you can take them in aggregate from 47 down to 51. They're all kind of the same conversation.
I have a question, though.
Sure.
I don't see the foreign language teacher here. Do we not have a foreign language teacher?
Good question. We went with a program this year that we're going to endorse next year, which is a software package being facilitated by one of our ed techs who's our computer educational technician. Last year, we couldn't find qualified personnel, so I worked with the school committee and came up with what some other school districts are doing, which is to use technology to our advantage, and we've offered Spanish language. And that's our plan for next year, too.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Last year, we said that there had been money set aside for the previous year, but you were not able to get the program started to your satisfaction.
Correct.
And so the second year was last year that we appropriated money. What happened to those monies?
We had one classroom that grew, and we had to have a second teacher for
Third grade, this year's third grade.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was diverted for other reasons.
So it was
But-
diverted to another
Well,
teacher.
it went to another teacher, but not to a foreign language teacher.
No, I understand.
Right.
And then is foreign language, tell me what the requirements are as far as the state of Maine is concerned for foreign language.
For the requirements for the state of Maine for pre-K through 8, there are no requirements.
No requirements necessary.
For students or teachers? I mean, for the certification, or you were talking for students?
For students.
There is none. When you get to
None.
high school, they are looking at whether you need that second language or not as part of proficiency-based diplomas. So that's a conversation that's going on, I'm sure, at Sanford. But there are no requirements pre-K through 8.
Am I correct in understanding too that part of the technology gives us access to more languages also?
It does, and we haven't
So that's part of
explored.
the conversation too, is that by going through technology,
Yep.
it gives us more of an option to
Yeah.
get kids access to more.
If we choose to go that route. We stuck with one language for this year.
Yeah.
We'll have conversations about that.
What grade levels are you, what grade levels are you?
Pre-K through 8.
All 8, okay, all 8 grades are being exposed. I would think that's not very fruitful. The technology is very fruitful at the lower grades.
It is when you identify, it's more identification on a flat screen. You know, a photo, a cartoon picture of a chair, and then the Spanish word for chair. It's more of an identification, just like early language learners. And that's, research shows the earlier a student is associated with a foreign language, the better they'll speak it overall. Yeah.
I can understand that.
So that would be the place you really want to put your resources, actually.
Plus the idea that children need to know that their language is not the only one on the planet.
There's a lot of other options out there.
That's
And
right.
there's like
So
something like
did-
42 in this package.
Are you looking then in a forward way, such as the 7th grader or an 8th grader who wants to take German or to
Well,
take something else can do so?
That's a great question. I actually went through this personally with my own son at the high school level who wanted to take German and they didn't offer it, so I actually paid for a Middlebury online course for him. The school wasn't willing to pay for it, but they were willing to accept the credit because it was Middlebury. We did some research on this about 18 months ago, and because the majority of our students go to Sanford, others do take some money and go to somewhere else. Spanish and French is what's offered at Sanford, so we really kept focusing on, in this
Where
case,
they're going to
Spanish.
end up. Okay.
I think that if a student were to, for some reason, really be focused on something like German, we could support that. My question would be, what happens when they become a freshman in high school, and what support might they have? We don't really control that.
Sure.
It probably would be on their own, just like it was for me.
Or perhaps the high school will adopt the same type of program and allow them to continue on with the
Now,
software program.
I'm glad you brought that up, because foreign language teachers are not falling from the sky right now.
I understand
So
that.
especially at the high school level, they gotta come up with options, and the option of having a software package with an à la carte makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
They have a really good Spanish teacher at the high school.
Do that. So I took us all the way down to 51 with benefits, and then things change up on 52. So it's pre-K travel and conference at $1,000, which is flat. Instructional supplies for pre-K went up $200 at 10% to $2,200.
Check.
Okay, R in the revisit column for us.
And the next one.
And books and periodicals is down 200.
So, quick question, John.
Yep.
I don't want to add more to a plate, but I'm just wondering if like quick walk through a classroom, like if I pop into every classroom, like would I quickly be able to say, yep, there's a library, there's a classroom library right there, there's a stack. Do we have that information, like to what extent each, you just say,
get it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, like if next time.
Like, what is the collection?
Yeah, like.
Are you looking as deep as copyright date kind of stuff? Like,
No,
how
no,
old is
like-
it, or are you looking for what do we have
Like,
for a range?
so if I'm going into a classroom, I want to see a space where kids can pull books off the wall. Or that there's a collection of stuff, so if I've got some time to do some sustained silent reading, I can grab something. So,
I would say the answer to that question is going to look different
Vary.
pre-K through 5 than it is for the middle school.
yeah.
Only because the disciplines are divided and all
Yeah, but
kids like the
don't we have
teachers.
iPads? Can't they read?
Sure,
think
but you're
there's
looking for
more
books. I get your question.
Yeah.
I know
You're
what you're
specifically
saying,
looking for
but
bound
I
books.
even turn
The
to an
research is-
iPad
oh.
quicker than a book right now.
I agree, but there's, particularly when you have reluctant readers, kids who might not gravitate to that, having access to books. It's like if there's M&Ms nearby, you're gonna beat the M&Ms. If there are books nearby, you're gonna grab your pick, or like magazines and stuff like that. So it's really helpful if teachers have some funds to maintain a classroom library. Because the thing is, ideally, if you've got a good classroom library, like, and teachers can do it in a variety of ways, but it's good to, like, do book drives and things like that, but you want them walking away. So if a kid gravitates to a book, I like this book, or this magazine, I want to read it, it may not come back. That's a good thing, which means you got to replenish.
Correct. I kind of whispered to Sarah when I was a high school principal, it didn't happen that often, but if a high school kid stole a book, I didn't look very hard to find it.
That's
They might read it. That's
Little
not a
kids
bad
really
thing.
seem to hang on to them. just
They
not-
do, and you find that, and they'll
I've seen my
reread and
grandchildren
reread
come
and
home,
reread.
they're-
So here's the
they're
answer to your
arriving
question,
and opening
Kevin.
the books up and sitting there
And that's
reading.
not
Yeah, amazing.
to take away from a school library too, which I'm a huge fan of.
And Title I.
That's
Take a
right.
look at the Title I room. But here's the answer to your question. You put it as a revisit, so we owe you an answer to your question through the revisit list. So when we look at it and you say, does that?
And that's why I was asking you if you.
We'll have to audit that and get back to you.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
then you can make a decision if it's too much, too little, or
Yeah, or
what you want with
maybe,
it. Or
if
just
it's
right.
like, there's a lot of the
Goldilocks.
classrooms could use a booster, then maybe we look at that.
Okay.
The other
What's the
option
chance
here
of
is
like a field trip, like maybe before the next meeting, right? I'm sure if you're already here, right?
Oh, do a walk around.
Yeah, and if you
Oh.
peeked into their room, right?
You can even sit down and read some of those books to the kids while you're in the room.
That'd be great.
Is there any effort to collect books from people whose kids are growing up?
Yeah, like book drives.
Does the school conduct book drives? I mean, We're loaded with them.
The
kids are outgrowing them. The kids are outgrowing them.
Put that down, student council should do a book drive.
I got my-
Sure,
I-
why not?
I think she
mean,
left.
sure.
I'm gonna move us to 55,
I'd love to get them
which
out
is
of the house.
equipment.
And this is pre-K again, right?
This is pre-K, and the equipment was replaced, and it was a one-shot deal, and that's why it's gone.
Yeah, it was a light box. There's a big light table that.
Actually, Andy fixed it too, right?
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Did
saw
that
that.
last week.
Yeah, the boys were playing it down at pre-K, that thing rocks, yeah. All right, field trips, 56, is it $100, it's flat, pre-K. Now, we shift again on 57.
I have an update,
Yep. What's that? You want to update 57?
yes,
So since this printing,
yes,
things have changed?
yes. And you printed this one?
Thursday.
Yep.
She printed this Thursday.
And then Friday night, I got a bill from Sanford
Mm-hmm.
for tuition. Okay, so we had, previous to this quarter's billing, I had 95 students, which
Mhm.
made me panic all for the last 3 months. And the bill that I got today, it dropped it down to 86, so the ones that moved in, they moved out. So what that does is, it would bring this line item down by 98,100.
Oh.
By 98,000?
So
it's-
the
it
129 minus 98. Right.
Yeah. And when we do our overall work, the overall budget, when we get together on the 6th, that will reflect it to the number of kids we have in the high school to that date. If it goes back up 8 or down 6.
And what was the reason for the drop?
They moved away.
It's transient population.
Transient.
Yeah.
Why is it going down 90,000? It's, you
Well,
said
you
it's
have
7 kids,
9
which it was
kids.
around
No, 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 you have
$77,000.
9 kids
At,
at
10,000.
9 kids at
$10,900.
$10,000.
Yeah,
Nine.
okay.
get you to 90.
Yeah, you're right, okay. Yeah.
The question I
Can't
have,
argue math.
Get your
I think I can
calculator.
help you with that.
But that's now.
That's right
Okay,
now,
go ahead and ask your
now.
question. I'll-
Question.
You gotta remember, when we do our
I'll get 'em.
budgets, we try to
We
do it
have-
with
right,
what
we have
we
a
reserve. What we have.
at
I know,
that
I know.
time.
Yeah.
And it did change, and it's just like everything else, we will
Sure.
have our numbers for insurance just about mid-March, maybe a little sooner. And as soon as we know those, everything will be updated to what we actually know.
But this also, for next year, this should reflect the students that we have in high school now,
Right.
right?
Minus the
Minus the seniors,
Yeah.
plus the eighth
Freshmen.
grade.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bernice has given me the breakdown of each classroom. The increases in the freshman class and in the sophomore class.
Yeah.
Those are where the numbers are changing all the time. The senior class seems to be the same size. That hasn't changed at all. So that, it should
Because
work.
parents will keep them in for their senior year because those kids are saying, I'm staying, you can't move me.
Right. All my friends are here, right?
I know Dr. Williams has a question I want to present.
this is the one where we had originally asked if we could get information from Sanford High School as far as their quality and proficiency of teaching. Everything I can find is it's not one of the better high schools in the county. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's ranked 80th in the state according to one group that I had. The other is if they could tell us what happened in a sort of a cohort form for people that are coming from our school. Not only, they gave us information as far as the elite who did very well,
Correct.
which I would assume would probably do relatively well in almost any environment because of other reasons. But the ones I worry about are the ones that are special ed here, people who are just sort of marginal as far as their abilities to go in, even in the high school. Did they drop out? What happened to them?
So there's-
How did Sanford High School rescue those kids?
So there's a new, that question of what is our Acton dropout rate? Looking for Acton citizens dropout rate. That had never been reported out by the state before, but in the new funding rules, it will be.
Oh, really?
They want to go back
Fantastic.
and they want to look at the school of origin for schools that don't have high schools, which is us. So before, if I went to Sanford High School and I was a valedictorian, good for me. If I went to Sanford High School and I dropped out, not so good for me. It would look like Sanford High School's dropout. What it's going to look like is Sanford High School's dropout, and it's going to go back and be reported that this was an Acton student who dropped out of Sanford High School. We don't have that data. We will start having to collect that data through our MEDM system starting next year.
Yeah, but I looked back at my notes, and we had asked this
That's what I was
high
wondering.
school, and there were no dropouts last year
From our Acton
from
cohort,
Acton.
that senior class. And that won't be true of every senior class.
Right.
Every senior class will have some
But
at-risk
we did
kids.
ask, and that was.
And did they do well? The other question.
They
Yes.
seem to help pull the GPA for the entire school. We're 1/10 of the population.
I realize that, but I'm just
Yeah.
talking about the ones who were marginal here, or who had special needs here.
I will tell you this, we've experienced, I will tell you how the world works. We've had students in the past that have not needed one-on-ones here because of our design, but may have required at that level a one-on-one because they're designed differently.
So we still support them.
We still own that financially,
Yes.
but we don't make that decision because we are not providing the instruction to the student. Their team makes that decision with their parents and,
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other question I had was, what % of eighth graders opt not to go to Sanford, but to go to other high schools?
and that's a request.
You count them on one hand, right?
We
Yeah.
got 3 next year.
We got,
Three
yeah,
only?
that's a request that we know of, and now's the time that parents should be making that request. And we don't control the request, we just control where the money goes.
And has the
Well-
Sanford officials actually told us what they're doing, or have they, do they feel as though there's a tremendous need to upgrade their final product? I mean, is it true that they are 80th in the state? Is it true that they're not one of the better high schools in York County? I don't know if it's true or not. Does anyone ask that, or do they even tell us what their status is as far as proficiency?
Yeah,
I
I
guess
guess I
it
would
depends on
say-
your information source.
It
Yeah.
would be I guess I would want to know what your information source
Right, right, no,
Yeah,
no.
The,
Because you're
What
looking
your
at
metric
that.
is on
uh,
that.
If you're
I
asking
could talk for
Sanford-
hours about
Yes,
this.
well, tell him, because they're changing everything
York
at the high
County
school.
comparisons, I think, are unfair to Sanford, just given that it's more metropolitan, where you've got, to compare it to the coastals, those sort of like the not the Massabesics, but
Kennebunk.
Marshwood,
Kennebunk.
and those, it's just not a fair comparison when you think of socioeconomic status. So you would want to compare Sanford to similar ones, like I think Massabesic is somewhat similar,
Biddeford.
demographics.
Biddeford might be a little more similar.
Yeah, Biddeford maybe a little bit.
More urban.
Correct.
So a lot of ELL learners.
Correct. I
different
think Sanford's
populations.
pretty on par with similar schools with similar size and demographics and a semi-metropolitan, for Maine.
Yeah.
That being said, I do think, so that's one piece. So I think it's comparable in that way. But when we look at Marshwood and Wells and Kennebunk, well, their achievement is significantly higher. They perform higher, but then again, if you were to control for socioeconomic status, they would be about on par.
They also have much higher populations, so they tend to weigh that end of the scale.
Correct. One of the things that excite me about Sanford is it is the regional hub for career and technical education, and as a career and technical education center, I think it is excellent. So there's that. So I think in regards to all the other schools send to Sanford, I think there's a benefit of it being on site. I am really excited. We've had a couple meetings with Sanford, and the redesign of the building.
Their new building, yeah.
At least, definitely, I would, without a doubt, in the short term, is going to have really significant benefits, because one of the big changes they're making, I'm not sure if you're aware, which I kind of like, the new design, and to stop me if this is familiar with folks, is it's going to look like an airport terminal. So in each of the wings is going to be sort of like around a particular vocational career and health. I'm going to get some of them wrong. Engineering, arts and performing arts. But the career and technical education classes will be side by side with the academic classes. So it's going to eliminate, hopefully, the biases against career and technical education, where there's sort of like a different status, which is really, I think, really good. So that it's going to put them on an even playing field. So that's nice. I think one of the things that I wrestle with Sanford is that Sanford still in some ways is, when we think about proficiency-based education, they've been trying to really move in that direction as well, but in some ways they're still very traditional. So, for example, there's still a tracked system, and I think that has problems to challenges to it. So where a lot of the schools nearby aren't, Kennebunk still, Noble's not, so different schools do it in different ways, but a track system, are you familiar with track systems? A track system is where you've got the levels. You've got the honors class, you've got the college prep, and then you've got remedial,
GPA and class rank.
Yes.
that sort
all
of thing.
of
So
those are the
they
weighted
sort of become
classes.
self-fulfilling
Yeah.
prophecies.
Yes.
And the
Indeed.
research is particularly on the bottom ones. And I know Sanford's
Yeah.
kind of removed that piece more or less. So it's a mixed bag. It depends upon what you're looking at, what metrics. But
Well,
relatively
I just asked
speaking,
that because obviously.
it's the right question to ask.
But obviously, I mean, our high school students are a part of our educational system and part of the obligation of the town. And I just wondered if there were options. Have we talked with Sanford about making changes that we think are important? Have they been receptive to our suggestions to, at least in terms of helping the marginal patients, the marginal students? I just think it's important, and I don't hear very much from them. I was
feel like
lucky
partnership's
enough to
been
be
strong.
at the
Yeah,
spring
right.
meeting that you all had.
The joint
Very
meeting, yeah.
impressed with their physical
We don't
plant
really
that's
have
coming
any
on
say
board.
in what
But I wonder, as far as
board
their
does, though.
their institutional
But they've been communicating.
culture, whether or not that's changing as well.
Well, their institutional
You gotta
culture,
look at
as just as Kevin said, is going to change. And I think it was Kevin that enlightened me to the fact that you'll probably see an increase in achievement just from the fact that people are having conversations
There'll
about
be an
learning.
implementation bump guaranteed.
Yeah, implementation bumps, what you called it, right?
Yeah.
I would
think that's
say
fascinating.
from my experience, they have a
Yeah.
resistance to the proficiency-based.
With your experience as being a mother of a kid there.
Yeah.
Really?
Mother of a
Yeah.
friend.
That's the
There's a
traditional.
lot
piece
of
though.
rumblings, and they really want to stick to that traditional, is what it sounds like, but, I mean,
Change comes hard.
that's, yeah, yeah.
Some other questions. Relative to cost.
Yeah.
Does this cost here represent a big increase from previous years?
Are
now
you
that
on
they're gonna-
57, Virginia? Line
Yep.
57?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now that they've got the new high school, is the cost per student for Acton going to
That's
go up, or
fixed.
has it already
It's
gone?
fixed.
It's a 10-year contract. So what are we in our fourth year of a 10-year contract?
Yeah, the cost,
year?
the
That's the
cost
year
is
before.
fixed by some kind of a state formula
It's the year
every
before.
year.
Oh,
And,
it is.
and they set that formula like in December, correct, Kim?
Yeah, it's
So
a state average.
it's a state average, so
Per
when
capita.
they set our tuition rate, they allow us to carry that into the next budget year, and it won't change again until next December, when
state
it
average
will
changes.
change again, and then we may have a different rate for next year.
So we have like a discounted
For
rate.
now,
Yeah.
yeah.
How many years ahead do you start thinking about, or actually looking actively into maybe sending Acton kids to some other town?
Well, we have a
Oh,
contract for.
boy.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Now, some of these people have lived this before. Yeah, that's a good
I
question.
understand that. You get
Prior to the
10-year contract.
sunset of the
You start
contract.
in
We're
your eighth
doing-
year, the ninth year, or when do you do that?
This is the,
This is
we're
the
going into.
this is the fourth year of our contract, I think, right now, of our
So it's 14
second
years.
10-year.
10-year
Of
contract.
20 years cumulative.
20
We
years.
brought, when we went into the contract with Sanford, this is something that came before the voters of the town, as to where they wanted the students to go. And I think one of the reasons Sanford was chosen was because of its proximity. It's the closest for Acton, kids that are involved in sports and extracurricular activities for practices and things like that. If they're like down in Wells or over in Noble even, or Massabesic or wherever else they might try to contract, the distance would make a big difference for parents and for transportation, so.
It would, but I guess what I'm thinking is there somebody in this town or some group that will put out a platform to the mothers and fathers in this town to say, here, this is what we've looked at, this is what you want to consider before everybody, if they're
They
going to
can
take
do
a
that.
vote.
Sure they can do that.
Do we do it,
I
and
don't
when
know.
do we do it? How close to the end
Well,
of the contract?
Well, we're in the fourth year of the contract
Of the
now,
10-year
so.
contract.
And another 3 years.
15 years ago, the school had said, I mean, we thought
We're sending them
at
everywhere.
the state level,
Well,
high school, Sanford High School was going to build a new high school. 15 years ago. They said it was only about 2 years out. So when the vote was taken in town, people were like, "Oh, it's going to be a new school, you know, it's close by." So it was a vote, and the vote, you know, Sanford won. So then it took all this time to get the new high school, but it's going to happen. So I don't know who would vote against it right now. Who would say, let's go somewhere else? There was a lot of meetings, a lot of, when the consolidated came down from Governor Baldacci, they were trying to put us somewhere else, and it didn't work. Lots of meetings, lots of discussion. Sanford was the winner.
There's a long history there, Virginia, believe me.
And my gut tells
I'm
me.
sure there is, but if his figure is right, that they're the 80th worst
No.
town.
That's
That's
misleading.
Depends where you pull your
That-
ratings from. There's
No,
a
you
million
gotta-
different ratings.
No question about it.
Forget
No
that.
question about it.
But
That's
it's a
why
right
I asked the
question
question.
I mean, you'd want to, the number you'd want to, you'd really want to, you want fair comps. So again, to compare Sanford to the Kennebunk, it's not a fair comp. So when you look at it again to the actual comps, Sanford's right there with the rest of them. My understanding too is that most people that I talk to, because this comes up, I'd probably say this is one of the more common things I talk with parents in regards to high school and what about, because I used to teach in a neighboring district where I remember having Acton students when I taught at Noble. We still have it, so as a parent, if I wanted my child to go somewhere else, that's still an option to me. I have zero doubt that the majority of Acton residents with children would want them to go to Sanford.
Right, we have 3 who.
Say that again?
petitioned.
I
Zero doubt.
would bet, I'm very, very confident that the
Welcome to go
majority
someplace.
of Acton residents with
Especially
children
with the new
would
high
want them
school.
to go to Sanford.
Really?
In that
I do,
in that
just
contract.
because of proximity, logistics, the sports, the career and technical education. Those are all really powerful draws for families here. Parents who might want their students to go to a school with a higher academic rigor, like a Marshwood, like a Kennebunk, like a Wells,
Berg Academy.
like Berg Academy. They can do that, but I don't think it would be the majority. I really don't.
We also have what they call in that contract, a superintendent's agreement. If some child wants to go to another school,
They can.
Mr. Ross will check and see if the student can go there, ask that other superintendent if there's room for this child.
Assisting in the process,
But
yeah.
they have to find their own transportation.
Does anyone have any idea how much out-of-pocket addition?
Depends.
Well, I mean, just, is it?
It's like 100, I'm gonna
We're
get,
not
it's
paying-
roughly $100 difference between us and SAD 60, which is the Lebanon area, it's one of our border towns. I think it's 100, right now, in our current situation, what we get reimbursed by for the state that we send as tuition to a Sanford student, if that same student wanted to go to,
Say Massabesic.
say Massabesic, it's gonna cost out of pocket $100
It's a
for that
wash.
family.
It's-
Pretty much.
it's very-
Talk to Steve about
So
that,
if
yeah.
I wanted to go
Transportation.
somewhere, like if I wanted my daughter to go to Marshwood, say, or what
Yeah.
have you,
It's right there.
tuition-wise, it'd be a wash. The challenge is the travel. It's the travel, so you need to pick one so that the transportation's taken care of. And from a travel standpoint, the fiscally responsible thing to do is Sanford,
Yeah.
just because
No,
it's
no,
the
I
closest. But there is still, I think it's important that parents still have choice.
There's still a
We
choice.
do have, because we don't have a high school, we do, and the school choice thing across the country is huge right now, and we have it.
We have to designate a high school. Our designated high school is Sanford, and we're under contract with them. But any parent, and we've had this come up, that they want their freshmen to not go to Sanford, they want their freshmen to go somewhere else, it's on the parent to make those arrangements, and for me to support it, if the receiving district supports it, and the money follows the kid. And if there's a difference, it's on the parent. In one case, I know
They're in
it's
charge of
$100.
transportation.
One last question. The 86 students who go now to Sanford from our school system, how many of those are special ed students? Do we have any idea?
Yeah, it's
in the
he has
yeah,
it
we
in
do it.
your report.
Well, you got your out-of-district placements
That's
in
right
that
here.
report. Do you have your special ed numbers for just Sanford?
Yes.
Okay, good. Very good.
I think it's 10.
10?
10, I believe.
And do we get
That's about right.
special reports from Sanford High School about how they are doing?
Yes.
Since they are high risk for,
Right,
Those
Mr.
have
Ross knows.
IEPs.
Right.
They have
They have IEPs, every one of them has an
Individual
individual education
education
plan.
plans.
It
Plan,
follows the
okay.
student. However, the case management of that happens at Sanford. We transfer that IEP to that student in Sanford.
so there's a transition.
Transition, correct.
That's all. Thank you. Sorry to.
All right, I'd like to move
That was
us
a
on.
good question.
I knew this 57 would be a big one because it's all about our high school. So the number has changed. Kim will present us on the 6th with the most current information when we crunch the numbers on the 6th for line item 57. Line item 58. So there's the 3 you were talking about, Kim. So the private this pulls right into what Virginia was asking earlier, is line item 58. There are 3 students who kind of take the money that's available to go to Sanford and go to other places. So So we have 3.
That's a lot. We never had.
And then it shifts again when you hit 59. We're into gifted and talented, which is our GT program. So we moved away from the high school. One more time, we've shifted back to teachers here in Acton. And that is a teacher at a 4.6% increase going into next year.
And is that an additional one to the 21?
You counted the specials when you counted teachers.
Okay.
So we're still at 21. Then the substitutes for that position at $75 a day. And then let me count which ones. 61, 62, 63, 64 are all those insurance and retirement, if you have any questions about those, for one position. And then 65 is the travel and conference line for GT. It's down $100 or 16%. 66 is supplies for GT, which is down $350 or, excuse me, it's down $350 or 150%. 30% or $150. I keep doing this backwards. 67 is books and periodicals. You interested in revisiting for GT?
It's for all of it, so.
Okay,
yeah,
so
I
let's
see
put
it all
R
as the
next to
same thing.
67, okay.
Thank you.
Testing is 68. This is new Sage 2 testing. I asked the questions, it's just new testing that that particular teacher wants to do in GT
Right.
to the amount of $300.
What does it assess?
What is Sage?
It's Sage, it's something specific with Explore, and that's all I can tell you, I don't know.
The Explore program?
But in
Yeah,
the
it's
narrative,
specifically
It's
to
the-
Is
the
it, is
Explore
the Explore
program.
program?
Go ahead, Mary.
in the
Is there
narrative
a concept
on
out there
line
that everybody's working on, or
59,
is
I think we
everybody
should
developed
say,
their
is it
I
pre-K
mean,
to 8?
Explore's just
She
the name
does?
for the gifted and talented program.
I think we need to.
Yeah, it's
right?
not
That's unique.
pre-K,
Just-
although there, I should be careful, because she does work with the younger ones, but GT is 3rd grade and above
3 to 8?
for GT, but the Explore piece really does encompass all kids.
Well, that's, I just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
She
right.
works with the younger kids.
That's what I meant, it does,
Yeah.
but it's not technically GT. You need to test in, and you need a couple of years' worth of achievement data to test in, so you can't test in GT
But
at
this
pre-K.
teacher is working pre-K to
The answer is she's
8.
working with everybody, yes.
I think that should
Correct.
be in the narrative,
Correct.
so people don't
So
think.
Kim, can you mark, that would have been a change in note, not a revisit, but I'm back on 59. We shifted gears. On 59, the salary for the gifted and talented teacher, we should put PK through 8 GT, but make sure the Explore is still in there.
Yep.
So it's Explore GT pre-K through 8.
So where was he or she when the original number was n equals 21?
Yes, she was in part of that N equals 21.
Yeah.
Correct.
And in which group was she originally?
In her. was she-
Separate.
She's the only one.
Totally separate?
It's a separate, GT's a separate
It's-
category.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
okay.
GT had to be under 4,900, so if you look at the second number, like you have 1,000 that's
what-
operating,
that's what it would shift.
4,900 is specifically for Explore programs, 1,100 is 3 to 8.
Same article, Article 2, but a different cost center within the article for accounting reasons, and EPS and a lot of reasons,
For state reasons, yeah.
right? Okay, so I'm back down to travel and conference 65 after we've had a chance to look at the benefits pieces. It's 600 to 500 or $100 less for a gifted and talented, I'm gonna call it gifted and talented convention. 66, the supplies, I mentioned that already, is down 30%. Books and periodicals, we're gonna revisit on 67. Testing, we talked about for Sage 2, and we're lastly on computer software on 69.
What's Zulama?
Zulama was going to be a program that she was going to set up for STEAM for the whole school-wide, but did not implement it this year, so that's why there's 0 proposed for the next year.
I have to ask what STEAM is, because I'm sure it's not really.
You gotta have it
Science,
correct.
technology,
okay.
engineering, arts,
Okay.
and math.
Math. STEAM is STEM.
Yeah, I know.
No, I mean,
Acronyms.
when you're talking all these acronyms.
Oh, sure.
Who knows what everybody's talking about?
Education ease.
Jeanette always wants a glossary, right?
I know.
Number 70, so these last 3 items on the back page wrap up GT. Number 70 is flat at $350. 71 is the GT field trips, which is flat at $1,000.
Time,
Yep.
question, Harvard, yes, the Harvard?
The Harvard, the university.
Harvard.
They just went.
Okay. And is that like the 8th graders or?
Yeah, the middle school
College
kids.
visit, yes.
It's actually a college visit that we're paying for? Okay.
It's really an aspirations piece. And programs under 72 for GT is at flat at $200. Without any questions, I'll move to Article 3. You have your
Well,
first.
special, I mean, this gifted and talented, isn't that considered, paid through the special education department or something?
No more.
No, don't go there.
No, Tell
no.
No, this is the one that got moved. It
Moved.
used to be in special ed, and it
Not
really
anymore.
belonged in
No
regular
more.
education. And
All right.
Explore,
So the
Has-
state then said, out you go, put it in your regular ed, and they're no longer funding it? Is
Well,
that what
within the
you're saying?
EPS
No.
formula,
No,
there
it's
is a
within-
piece on GT there.
yes.
The funding formula is complex, and there are different pieces that are in there, and there is a GT piece in there.
It'll never go away.
Right.
It'll always be there.
Okay, I am now on Article 3, Special Education. You can see your running score at the top. We have Dell in the room for any particular questions. And this starts with line 73. Student transportation. And the narrative transportation for students to a private elementary facility with a bus monitor.
That's a typo, there is no bus.
There is no bus monitor, right? I think I know where you're going with that. So it's just transportation for students to a private, just get rid of the monitor. And we see an increase of $12,000 or 18%.
So this is all for transportation.
Transportation, student transportation for special ed kids K-8. That's K-8. The next one is 9 through 12.
What, just for my own elucidation, what other special things have to be available in the transportation vehicle or driver, as far as education, et cetera, to transport special ed children?
It's where they're going.
These are out of school
These are out of
Out of
district.
district.
Yes.
It depends,
This is not within the school.
what's required depends on.
On each child.
Disability,
On the
right.
destination and the disability, depends.
Some of
As a general rule, what brings it from 10,000 up to 65,000 for the K through 8 special ed?
more students.
Different
yeah.
students, different directions.
different
No, I
places.
mean,
That's actually
I'm just
9
trying
to
to, do they have to have seatbelts, or they have to have special padding in the seats, or they have to,
More
you know,
kids.
what's going on?
It all
Just more
depends,
kids?
Yeah.
all depends on the student. Some have to travel alone without any other.
But it's also where they're going, if they're
Right.
going really far away.
And how many there are, which is probably the biggest
What,
difference.
how many special ed students do we have, approximately?
16.
In the whole school?
16, is that what you said?
There's 6
Dal,
in the
hold on.
no, 6
Can I-
out of placement.
Yep. I think this would be a great time, because these are big numbers, to give Dell the floor on any particular questions, but we don't want to small school.
Yes.
I just want to remind everybody, small school.
Privacy.
We don't want to identify kids, but let's just talk in how these numbers are being used. How's that sound?
And how they're charging us?
Sounds good.
How the numbers are being used and how they're charging us.
How the transportation
So we
contracts-
have students that require out-of-district placements. And some of the bumps may be from students aging up from the elementary to the high school level. So some bump is because of that. Some bumps are, some students may thrive in one school, or they may not. They may require a different setting. It's still our responsibility to provide that. And the distance to the setting that they are successful in may cost more. And we have maybe have a couple of students going to one place, or we may have in the past had a couple of students going to one, and so we could save some money on that transportation. But in other cases, we may have one student going alone in one direction. And and it's all, special transportation is any transportation that's not given to every other student.
Right.
So anytime a district put in, and those are actually included on student IEPs, It's written in as special transportation is one of the services that we are required to provide. And any transportation that's going in a different direction other than the general education school is special transportation.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that the vehicle has to be
Adaptive.
customized
No.
for.
It
Not
can.
necessarily. Not necessarily.
I mean, obviously,
It
Yeah.
can.
so
be.
if you have a student that's in a wheelchair,
If we have any
Right.
students
No.
that require wheelchair accessibility, then those would require the.
And we have how many special ed in K through 8 and how many in the high school?
Let me just clarify the question. The question is out-of-district placements.
Out-of-district
Right,
placements,
that's
fine.
different than just special ed.
Fine.
This year, how many out of this school district placement?
6.
6 in K,
Yeah.
in
Right,
K
on
through
your sheet.
8,
We're going
or
by the sheet here.
We
so-
just covered this at
Well,
school
yes,
committee meeting.
yes.
at
Six.
8, and how many different placements, how many different sites are we going
Well,
to?
just give me one
Right.
second.
Just the number, not the names, just the
Right.
number.
Where they go. I know.
You know, we know.
I do, because I signed the check.
I want to say 4.
3 right now.
Is right.
3
Three
different
that I
sites.
know of.
3 or 4 would be a
Three.
rough number, so,
You only got
Three.
6 people, so you can't be too many.
right, but
Well, yeah,
could be
it could,
six.
well,
they could go to 6 different
but we're
places.
just looking for
Yeah.
an
But they
idea,
don't.
get an
Okay.
idea.
Okay.
I would, wouldn't about 3 different places they go?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have,
And I say that, but, I mean,
That's now.
things
Right
things
today.
change.
right, right.
Thank you, Dale.
We
It's
understand
a
that.
safe place to go, safe place to go. Things change per kid's IEP.
And what about our secondary?
Mhm.
Are the numbers approximately like half that, because there's half as many kids in high school as there are K through 12? Roughly, just rough, I'm just trying to look for the,
As far as the outplaced high school level,
It's 10. Oh, I don't know about that.
2.
I don't know.
2.
2 outplaced? Okay.
Is that inclusive of the 6, or that's in addition to the 6?
No.
Oh, inclusive.
So of the 6, 2 are high
2
school.
are high school.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you got
Okay,
two-
so we're-
2 and
we only
4.
have-
School,
we only have-
4
you're right.
other place.
Rollins got it. Yeah, 6 in total.
Okay.
And how many do we have that are in school?
So,
And
that
I know that's
are
very, very variable, because it depends on what.
students
level.
serviced in this building.
Yeah, student service.
39 at the
39.
moment.
Okay.
What was that question?
39. How many kids are serviced in this building?
We're right at,
Special needs
we're
kids?
right at 15%.
Okay.
How many, 15?
Overall, with all of our identified students.
Now, looking at those numbers, we're looking at 39 in 8 grades here, and then we're looking at 6, well.
2.
6 out of 7.
Approximately 45
We're looking
people,
at- Yeah.
approximately 45 students.
Right, but I'm looking at what looks like it probably, there's a curve here that seems to drop off as they progress higher.
That's because they get identified in special ed in the earlier years. It's rare to have a student be identified as a special ed student by the time they hit middle adolescence in high school.
Right, but there's also a
Right.
suggestion
So they
here
go
that
in as
there's
an
some
IEP student.
success,
Yeah.
there's some success being reflected in these
There
programs.
can be, there's students that test out of special education as well. The disability no longer
That's
impacts
what the
their.
numbers, that's what these numbers are suggesting.
It
but I-
can, I don't want to make any guesses,
Right.
but the answer to your question is it can, it could be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But in the lower grades, it could just be speech and language.
right,
could be,
right.
yeah,
Just getting
Yeah.
them over that transition.
correct.
And we have no control who moves in and out of town.
Right.
I mean, you
Yeah.
can't, I remember when when there was 70 and 80 special ed students.
So
And
now we
and
have a
didn't-
total of 55 altogether.
Between
Between
here
high
and-
school and-
Well,
Thinking
thinking back 40 years and looking at the kids we had in school then and looking what we have now,
45.
there's been a lot of progress made.
55. We have 10
Yeah,
at
we
the
look
high
at-
school,
There was
45.
80 and 90, I remember.
10 at the high
So,
school.
Back to
I'm
transportation.
gonna bring us, back to 75.
Yeah, I mean, we have
Any
no-
Kids were just,
any balcony questions on what we've talked about now? If not, I'm gonna move on.
Yep.
Okay?
Please.
Teacher salaries on 75. And the salaries are for one special education teacher
doing a job.
and one teacher for the extended school year summer program. So remember, and if somebody else needs to speak to this, but extended school year is a requirement for certain students in our schools that we service them over the summer months. So we have to offer an extended school year program, and that's what this is.
So is that added to the 21?
It is. Kim mentioned when she added her teaching staff, she mentioned 2 special education staff as part of the 21.
Right, so what we have here that we haven't had in the past is when Dell and I were reviewing what we would do with the funds for our local entitlement grant, which is our special education grant. One of the things that we are trying to stay away from is having to pay, there's another 11.5% that has to be paid to main PERS for anything that's paid by a grant. So by moving extended school year into our operating, and we moved all our costs, we offsetting transportation and tuition for other district students. So that way we don't have the 11.68% on top of what I would pay the neighborhoods for grant-funded positions. So it's just a waste of money as far as I'm concerned. And by having extended school year in our operating budget, it allows us to control it without having to wait for the monies during the summer, because in the summer, they are forever getting it implemented.
They being whom? They being whom?
The state.
Okay.
Like the local entitlement grant, it's a process, and by the time you get paid for the summer money, school's already started.
Yeah, in September.
So by not having
Can
to
we-
deal with it,
The contract for the transportation, is that for a 3-year contract also with the transportation people?
Special education
Special ed, yes,
transportation?
Yeah, because the needs change year to year.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
So our-
This is based on some changes from last year, obviously, because we went from 10,000 to 42,000.
But it's
Well,
different
no,
places,
that's just
different
a-
kids.
That's
No,
just
it
a
doesn't
change of
matter.
students
A
going
placement.
from elementary to secondary. They grew up.
Mm.
So it's just that it was in elementary and now they're in high school.
Now they're in high school.
So it's, I mean,
It's
I
almost like a-
have to separate out high school
From elementary.
in
Okay.
expenses from, and that's how they
So that's why when I could be got more in
Yes.
high school this
Yeah.
coming year.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
What line are we on?
Get you-
75.
Yeah.
Kevin had a question about 75?
I'm considering asking to revisit 75, just
Okay.
because, and maybe not, I defer to you.
Okay.
We've talked about it before in the past, but this has budget implications in regards to kind of like the idea of the extended year, where, and this is part of what I'm hoping for down the road with more of a progress monitoring approach when we're looking at particularly students where there are gaps in achievement.
We have our standards recovery for mainstream students already in the budget.
But
We did it last year.
But, so for the summer, for vacations, for.
Not vacations, but for the
So that's where I'm
summer.
wondering if, like, for when we look at opportunity for throughout the year for not
Right.
disrupting services.
Right.
If that's something where there is an interest in,
We have it covered in this budget for the summer, but not for the.
that's my
primary-
question
yes.
for if there's other opportunities. So if we've got like the 2-week break for the holidays and if we want to provide, because that can be a
That's not-
long
That's
break.
not in this, that's not in this
That's
budget.
why I want to revisit, because if there's interest.
But it
then-
shouldn't probably go here.
No,
It should
it'd be
probably go
special ed.
where the mainstream kids for standards recovery is. Do you remember where we put that? We already looked at
But it
it.
might go here
What's that?
too.
Rural grant.
It's within the rural grant?
Yeah. Could be
But it
Title I,
could
it could
be
be
for
Reg Ed, it
special
could
ed.
be special ed. But I just bring it up because we've talked about it before, it's possible.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's of an interest and.
I mean, I know for extended school year, we go Monday through Thursday for 4 weeks. We go the week after the 4th, and it goes to the
Yep.
first week of August, so they really only have 2 weeks before school starts. We find that all the kids that do go to extended school year for the summer, they either maintain or excel in where they are, because as long as they attend.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the issue is just that they're not able to attend every day for whatever reason. But those that do, they do well.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of like a sort of like an augmenting the multi-tier systems of support to
With you.
provide some additional tier
The only
3
thing
intervention.
is, like the kids that are doing standards recovery, this is not special ed kids per se, but the kids that are doing standard are on the same schedule that Kim mentions, but they only need to come in to recover those standards that they're deficient in. They can leave. A kid could come in for a week and be done. Another student might come in and be here all summer because he needs or she needs to do more.
Let me give you-
I don't know, I'm not quite sure that during our regular academic breaks in the school year within that 185-day cycle, I'm not sure I'd support that only because those same kids kind of need a break from this whole thing called school. And staffing it, I think, even if I put it in, I think staffing it would be a.
Well, that's why I asked the question
It'd
is.
be very difficult. We could do it, but I don't think in reality we'd pull it off, to be honest with you. I don't,
And
it's
that's
a great
my
idea, but
question.
I don't think it would work. I think the summer program works quite well.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, all right,
So don't revisit them.
very good. That's why you said defer to you. I
That's
appreciate
it,
it.
that's
No,
right, yeah.
Good, okay.
I just have one question under, and then going back to number 74. What would be the huge jump from $10,000 to $42,000 under student transportation?
Well, that was
It's where they're going.
more students.
It's where they're going?
Yeah, and
Oh.
it.
Some of the eighth graders going
What
into
we
that.
had towards the end of last year really wasn't that far. So.
Proximity.
It's a proximity, so versus
Miles.
what was a short distance with one student is now a long distance with a different student.
That's a lot.
How many are we transporting here? Was this one
I am
student?
not going to answer that question because I just feel like we're getting too
Yeah,
detailed and I
you're right.
don't want to
You're right.
start.
All right.
It's a tough call. It's a fair question, but it's a tough call with the scale.
Okay,
I get it.
Okay, I understand that. Let me rephrase the question and point to the direction in which I was going.
Sure.
Do we ever consider asking the parents if they'd be interested in
Yes.
doing the transporting
Yes.
and getting paid for it? We do?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I
Some
wanted.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Some people have.
We do
done
that. That's a great idea, and we've taken them up
That's
on
what I wanted to
that.
know.
Yeah, it is cost savings.
Yeah.
And it's beneficial to the parents too, but.
General observation,
Sure.
when I'm looking at all these line items, nothing really stands out to me that says these items are essential. These over here are on our nice-to-have list. So if I'm looking at a total budget, if it's my budget, I want to know what I can live and die with, what I absolutely have to continue to do business, and what the other, that are,
90%.
we really should have these to keep up with the other schools, and these are what I really, these are my nice-to-haves.
Or new
My
I think
innovations.
Christmas
it's all,
list.
I
Or
think it's
new
all live or die.
innovations.
It's already been there. Before, yeah,
Looking at this,
sure. That's, and you know why, Virginia, you're part of it.
you might not want me to know.
No.
I didn't know if there was
No.
some kind of a summary at the end of all of these meetings that,
Well, there is, it's
Kind
the
of puts
overall
a-
budget. But we don't have tiered level. We don't have here's what would be great to have, here's what we'll get by with, and here's cutting to the bone, and, we'll just keep the lights on. We don't do that here that way at all. What we do is, prior to even getting these line items in front of you, we start with the teachers and the staff, and Kim and I work with each group to look at what do we need to offer the best possible education for these kids in this school system to bring forward to the school committee. So there's another one of these somewhere in my office where we've already moved some things and changed some things and done the best we can, knowing that at the end of this, there's going to be a budget number that we have to raise and allocate to provide public education in the town of Acton. I'm sensitive to where that needs to go along with the needs of the kids. That's my job, is to find that balance. And coming into this, we've already scaled back in places and talked to teachers and looked at grants and shifted monies to get us to this. That's why you won't see a tiered level, this would be nice to have, but we can live with this. When we come in with everything we believe we need. If it's the school committee's purview to bring, at the end of the day, a number down, it's on the
Or up.
school committee, or up. It's not, I handed this budget over to the school committee when it went out via email. I'm kind of done, I just facilitate the process at this point. It was a school budget with Kim, she hands it to me, it's my school budget, I hand it off to the school committee, it's their budget. They can then choose to remove items or put items on that. That's their purview, that's the elected position, that's their elected position. What they're looking for me is accountability. Bring us the best budget you can and give us something we can work with. So I bring to you, I'm saying, this is what we need for education in Acton. There is no other, that's already happened before it even got to you. If there's any shifting of resources or cutting here or there, that's been done prior to this document being developed. So,
I'm sure it has, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, me looking at it,
yeah.
I can't tell.
No, you can't, and I don't expect you to. It's very transparent where all the monies are going, but it would be difficult from a layperson's point of view who doesn't work here. The value of more books in a classroom, as Kevin says. Kevin understands the value of more books in a classroom. Other people may not see that value. Just like as you look at this, it's math and it makes sense. When we're in special education, I will caution that we don't have a lot of choice in a lot of this. Once you're in the special education place, you have federal mandates to meet the student's individual educational plan, and you have to do that. Thus, we do have some places where we are sending kids because of various reasons, social, emotional, mental health, other things we're not equipped for. We have a fiduciary duty to support that child in the town of Acton. And because we're such a small school, we were just cautioning on digging too deep on the numbers because a lot of us work in the school and could probably start figuring things out. So we talk more globally.
Just to spin out and put on too, though, is I think every year it's like this goes through a vice. And costs that we can't control continue to go up, that I would in some ways say are, for kids, not essential. Insurance.
Health insurance.
I mean, health insurance. I mean, it's important to families, but when you really come down to, is that impacting what actually the students here are receiving educationally? Zero. So those continue to go up beyond the cost of living. So we, every single year, have to provide the best possible education for students, knowing that basically we got to take away from other places because the taxpayers aren't going to every year accept a 7% increase, like the insurance tends to go up.
10.
Well, yeah, whatever it is.
We bookmark 10.
So to quick answer your question, I'd say everything on here is vital, and I would say in most cases, most of these line items are less than I would like them to be.
I think in fairness to Virginia, there is an answer to the question that you raised.
Yeah, it's a good question.
And these people are doing the job they're supposed to be doing in school. They're advocates for the school, and that's what they're required to be by law. And they're taking a look at the community and judging. The state defines what is the minimum we can get away with, and that's the EPS. And you're going to be coming up against that. So if you want to know what bare bones is, the EPS defines bare bones, if there's a definition of it anywhere. Like,
Yes, yeah,
Which-
that's pretty reasonable.
Which the EPS says we don't have to provide transportation to high school. The EPS says we don't have to have a kindergarten program, never mind a pre-K. This is EPS, bare bones. You know, it would probably say we need a 1/5 librarian for the number of kids here. We have a full-time. I mean, when you look at those, that's the EPS. So it's really,
it's bare,
It
it's
depends-
very bare bones, if
depends
it
what
even
we
makes
want.
bare bones.
If you look at the
It's
last
the excuse for the
article,
bare bones is, we're going to get to our 55% by
Percent, yeah, and
by the
you're
size
on
of
the,
program.
you figured out, Larry, look at
That's
that.
my last question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the
Do
question.
we
Good question to get to you.
Do we pay a per capita to Sanford, or is there an additional monies that we pay if it's a special ed
For special
high school?
education.
I see that we supply the text one-on-one
Right.
for those students.
Is it in here? Is it going to hit a line item where you're going to see it? Why don't we
Yeah, it's
address it
gonna
then?
Down further, you're
We'll
gonna
see it.
see where we pay specifically like 17,500 for Sanford to
services.
cover all the paperwork, IEPs, everything for general
kids.
special
Special
ed needs
education
for all the kids
administration.
at the high school. However, if a student in their IEP needs a one-on-one ed tech to be able to support them, then it's up to Acton to provide that employee, to provide the one-on-one ed tech, which we have two at the high school.
Yeah, I saw that in there, and I thought since we're supplying the educational technician, that I would hope that the per capita is the same. The other students who are not in special ed when they go to high school.
there's nothing per capita.
Well, it is,
But it's
But the
10,900, it's
tu-
10,900 for regular
the
students. and-
tuition
Special ed
is, the
students, it's the
tuition is the
same.
same for
Kids to
special
kids.
education.
Oh, it is the
Yeah.
same, that was my
Tuition
There's
question.
is
just
the
additional
same.
services perhaps on top that are needed that were on the books.
Okay, well, that's what I wanted
Yeah.
to know.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Hey,
yes.
Roland's been very, very patient with us. He had a question about 10 minutes ago, and I said, I'll get you, so I'm going to get him now. It's all yours.
Closer to half an hour.
Okay.
You still
Just-
remember it?
just-
You're a younger
just-
man than I am.
Just a quick question dealing with 75 and 76.
Yeah.
Line items 75 and 76. They both carry teacher salaries, ed tech salaries, RR. What's RR?
Resource room.
Thank you.
See what I mean?
That was worth waiting a half hour
When
for.
you get down to SC.
You know, I mean, there are,
I know exactly what you mean.
we
We ought
do
to
our
have, we
own
gotta
language.
have this directory printed out.
yeah, it's a railroad. Move on.
Railroad, yeah.
Not a railroad. So 75 and 76, while we're there, we looked at the 75, we didn't look at the 76, which is the associated ed tech for the extended summer school and the resource room. So that's the teacher and the ed tech for special ed. And then 77 is ed tech salaries 9 through 12. So remember, 9 through 12 is the high school. and that we are responsible for the one-on-one situations at the high school, even though the person doesn't report to work here, they help Acton kid at the high school. 78 is the substitutes for the resource room, RR. Okay, for the 26 days, set at $75 a day at 75%, that's a fixed formula. Now, I'm gonna just take a look real quick, 79 through 83 on that page, and I'll flip the page in a minute, but those are all the associated benefits and retirements that we looked at, we take them as a group. Roland?
Before you jump off, real
Yep.
quick, going back up to line 72,
72? 72. 73.
73, no,
There isn't a 72 in this article.
you're right, hold on. EdTech salaries, 9 to 12. Bad eyes.
Oh, I'm sorry, 77.
77, okay. Is that 3?
There's 3.
Thank you.
There you go.
Moving on.
We have
Yep.
2 at the high school and
Got
1
it.
at a private school.
Just,
So-
yeah, I was just curious. 3 was in parentheses.
With
Yeah.
80,
I thought perhaps.
83, we end that page with benefits.
We send the EdTech to a private school?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. good to
Yeah,
know.
yeah, not, yeah.
So it's
Um,
4.
84 is,
Yeah.
okay, so benefits are gonna end, I'm just looking down. It's gonna be 88. So those benefits, because of the number, it flows all the way to 88, so kind of the same conversation all the way through. At 89, we shift to travel and conferences, which is flat at $565.
Get on.
Supplies for resource room is 1,000, up $200 or $1,200.
And that 200 is just to cover the supplies during extended school year.
Very good. Testing under line 91 is flat at $400. Books and periodicals.
Is there a particular company on that one?
Yes.
Is it the same one that we've,
No.
No, this is not a literacy. This would be more like special education testing.
Yeah.
Academic testing.
Academic testing to find out, to help identify students' needs.
okay.
Books and periodicals on 92 was 250 is 100. It's down 150 or 60%.
Why?
I'm gonna put an R on that one anyway, all right?
Yes, indeed. I would
No, we are.
join you with that.
All books and periodicals, we'll put an R next to.
Gonna have a book thing.
Okay.
Books from all over town.
So Kim, just a note, when we come back for revisit list, it's kind of ours. It's revenue, it's revisits, and reserves. We probably want to do a little homework before the 6th to be able to report out on, I mean, this is a very small area, but we want to meet with the teacher in this case.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Equipment is new. Need for special education students. I'm going to defer, it says equipment SC at $100 that wasn't there last year.
Well, I see self-contained.
It's self-contained. yeah,
So
that's
somebody in
like a
self-contained needed something? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
What does that mean?
Self-contained
It's-
classroom.
The 2 areas for special ed
Res-
is divided into resource room and self-contained. So now we're getting into the other group of special ed within our school.
It picks right up with
They're a little bit
94.
different category.
So the other special education teachers is considered an SC or self-contained special ed teacher. And that starts on 94 with self-contained ed techs, and there's 2 of those. And this flows just as similar as everything else. There's a substitute line on 96 for that unit. And then I'm gonna count our benefits. Are you ahead of me, Sarah? Do you know where it ends?
103.
103. So really 97 through 103 are the benefits for those 3 people in that self-contained unit. We'll take those as a group and give you a second to look at those. 104 is travel and conference for the self-contained group at 0% at $450. Supplies for self-contained is 105, flat at 1,000. Self-contained testing is flat at 400 on 106. Books and periodicals, no change. Do we revisit a no change?
Seems like
It's
a
all
lot
the same
more.
thing.
It's all the same. Put an R, Kim, please, on 107, flat at $1,000. Equipment on 108 is flat at $1,000. Now we're into director's salary on 109.
Explain that.
It's a part-time position, salary part-time, special ed director, 2 days a week. The difference this year too is we have an employee this year in our special ed, part-time special ed director. In years past, we've worked out something within an area of school where it became a full-time job. We had half-time with the person and the other school had half-time with the person and the person had a full-time job. In this case, we didn't have another area district that needed a half-time person. And in all honesty, for us to have our own employee as a half-time person, my experience so far has been it's worked out very well because there aren't any competing needs with the other district, which we found just happens because the other district was much bigger and the phone rang a lot on the other district that there was a need there. I was cognizant of it, and we don't have that anymore because we don't have that partnership. Not that partnerships aren't a good thing. If there was an opening and another district needed a part-time person, we probably would have stayed with the same formula. I shopped everywhere.
So that's why it's a 28% increase.
It's a shift of overall benefits and pay.
I'm sorry?
It's a shift in overall benefits and pay, so if you kind of keep going, you'll see some bigger numbers.
So we'll take a look then at,
Benefits on the next page.
yeah. So the benefits, insurance, and main PERS are 110, 111, and 112.
2 which went down and 1 increased slightly.
Yeah, the increase of $401, but you're down on your 10,000 on the group insurance.
Right.
So it's a wash on that one.
Basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Moving on.
114, thank you, Roland. 114, staff development, $4,000. It's flat at $4,000, 0% increase. Purchased services for legal within special ed is at $2,000 and is flat.
Is that above and beyond your other
Yes. And
purchased professional services?
yes, and we've been pretty good over the last couple of years of not having to draw on that, but it's always good to have that. You never know when somebody's gonna wanna push an issue and you need that legal advice.
Understand.
Yeah, you
And
bet.
last year, we did use quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Tuition, public, let me read this correctly on 116. Was 100,000, is dropped 2450 or 2450%. And that's the tuition cost for outside educational systems.
What does that mean?
That means the student got older, because you look 2 lines down and you're gonna see where the high school tuition is higher.
Tuition secondary,
118.
2 lines down.
118.
Well, let me just take 117. Secondary tuition for special education students at Sanford High School is 117. And 117 is up $1,000 or 6%. 118 is tuition out of district 9 through 12. With 40,000 in this given year at 70,500 or a percent change of 76% or $30,500. For secondary tuition for students at private schools under special education.
So 116 is kind of K to 8, and then 118 is 9 to 12.
9 through 12.
Yeah.
And those were the numbers we talked about before. 119, travel and conference is flat at 800. 120, supplies is flat at 500. 121, dues and fees is flat at 800.
MadSac means what?
That's the Special Education Administrators Group, MadSac.
Yes, exactly.
Maine Association, Directors of Special,
It actually doesn't even match up.
it doesn't even match up? MadSac's been around forever.
It is.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they'll tell you that, but that's exactly what it is.
It's the Association for Directors of Special Education.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, on 122, that's a change this year. The multi-state billing fee of $2,000 was removed. That was an act of
That is
the
because.
school board this year.
Yes,
Yeah,
because we
we don't
will
need it.
not
It's costing
be-
us money.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for us to bill out for
Services,
main care.
okay.
And multi-service was billing for main care services, which they turned around, took it away out of my EPS money, so.
Doesn't say main care, it says,
Money, so that was the
Money at a time.
Tail wagging the dog.
doesn't say main care though, it says Medicare.
I'm sorry, I meant Medicare, not Medicare.
Thank you.
So 123 is psychological contracted services, and this is for our psych evals. That's something we contract out at $25,000, and that's flat, same as last year. Home stretch.
Yes.
One question again.
Yes, sir.
On 122 again.
Yep.
This is Medicare or Medicaid? Medicare. Okay. Thank you.
124 is speech contracted services, which is flat at $50,000. And then the supplies that go with that is $1,000, which is flat. Occupational therapy,
Do all students get speech contract services?
only kids that test in under
Okay.
special education,
All
only
right.
those that need. Occupational therapy, 126.
Explain that one, please. I had a question mark at that one.
On what?
Line number 126,
126.
occupational therapy.
Yes, sir.
$37,000, a contract with Mainly Kids OT for 4 days a week. That's Ms. Nick, who comes in and works with our kids.
Some students have occupational therapy as a related service on their IEP. It's required for them to access their educational program. And so those students, we don't have our own salaried employees, so we contract with this agency.
So
I think he's
sometimes,
asking what it's for.
sometimes it's like
Oh.
how to hold a
It's
pencil.
motor skills.
Occupational
skills.
therapy is, yes, it can be
Dressing.
it can be sensory skills. We have a lot of students who have dysregulation,
Uh-huh.
and it looks at their sensory skills, and it looks at fine motor skills. There's also, you'll also see there's physical therapy on here, although we don't have any students right now requiring physical therapy, but those would be more the gross motor skills. The occupational therapist will also work on visual perceptual skills, the fine motor, as you mentioned, as with regard to, basically, they look at role performance. If their role here as a student is compromised, then they might require occupational therapy services.
Skills of daily living.
Well, not necessarily, because we have to look at it from an educational perspective.
Okay.
So it's, if their role that they're expected to perform, such as taking off their outerwear, putting on their outerwear. So there could be overlap, but it's not the same as
focus that way,
what
yeah.
would be
Understand.
at home for
Sure.
occupational therapy
Okay.
versus what's at school. It has an educational relevance and
good description.
adversely impacting their educational program.
Thank you, sir.
Dell talked a bit about 128. I mean, the OT supplies is 127, which goes with the position, flat at 1,000. And then the physical therapy, although we don't have any students currently, we're anticipating that we're going to have a placeholder of 1,500 if we do have students who need it. Because that could be something we discover we need through the IEP process and testing. And then summer school transportation for special education students is 129. It's up $3,500 overall for transportation for summer school for special education students.
We've added extended school year transportation in this number.
Say it again.
We
Extended
added
summer
extended.
You
school
added
year
that in there, okay.
Yeah, they saw that. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of that article.
This was regular summer school plus extra.
I would like to.
1 hour.
Yeah.
No. It's okay. You had a goal, you know.
This one always takes us.
It is, this is that one.
This is actually, I think, the fastest we've ever
Yeah.
done these two.
It's a sensitive area.
Good question, just
Where
as,
a lot of the bulk of the cost structure.
before Judy adjourns us or makes a motion to adjourn, I just want to remind the committee that our next meeting will be on the 6th of March. It's a Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. We will have our revisit items available. We will have our revenues. We'll discuss reserves, and we'll look at the overall budget on that night. Between now and then, Kim will make sure everybody gets their information ahead of time. We do have one piece of information for a guest that was here last week, right? We want to make sure he picks it up on his way out. Any last questions while we're still in the formal setting? Go ahead. Rob?
On the 6th, is that combined?
Yeah.
In other words, are we welcome again?
Yes, you are.
It's always a public meeting.
Yes, you
On the
are.
list.
It's actually our last formal meeting as two groups, I believe, is on the 6th.
But you
And
can
then you
come
have yours
anytime
at
you
the town
want.
hall, and we'll come on up to that one. Okay, so.
Well,
I'm-
March, according to
13th.
this, you've got March 13th, which is,
That's the
Regular school committee.
yeah, and if you look, school committee deliberates with warrant and finance.
the 13th.
On the 13th.
Yeah, well, you can show up.
So, I think.
I'm just trying to
I
ascertain
think what that,
when I need to be here.
I think what that means is
Yeah.
that we will, the school committee will probably vote on the articles on the 13th.
Right.
And we definitely would welcome the Warren Finance Committee to be with us at that time.
You also have a
then-
meeting up at the town hall.
We haven't really officially
He hasn't set the
convened
meeting.
it, but we
Okay.
certainly shall, and once everything is finished.
Once we're
after-
done, right,
After the
okay.
next meeting.
So is that are you talking about when the Warren and Finance Committee will go over their recommendations?
Correct.
We don't know how
So
the date
that
for that yet.
That's on them to develop that
No.
after we've done our work and you've adopted a budget. The school committee looks to finalize the budget and adopt it as the
I'm just
one moving
wondering,
forward.
knowing that we have the timeline here and when we will be done, I just wonder if it's possible to kind of get that in advance so that we can plan in advance to
Okay.
be there. So. if that makes
Oh,
sense.
does that work,
Sure,
Dr. Lynch?
sure. No, we'll give you plenty of notice,
That's
I
great.
promise. At least 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay?
Speaketh to the chair.
No, that's great.
Then if you were gonna give
You
us
have to
2
do-
weeks'
right.
notice.
Be
you would-
next week.
You would, okay.
Okay, yeah.
You tell us next week.
That would have to be between March.
All right.
We need to,
Thank you, everyone. That was a good process. It was a long night, but thank you for the good questions. Ed,
Great
put your,
questions.
Put your meeting norms in here. I think you're gonna take us out of meeting, do you not?
Yeah.
I do. I want to remind us too that following the warrant and finance vote on the budget, we have to allow the selectmen time to also make their recommendations, correct? Or to sign it, I guess, just to sign it.
Yeah, they just have to sign it,
Yeah,
that's all.
okay.
And there's a timeline on there that you talked to Jen about, right? That,
Yeah.
and that's all built into the calendar. We did that way up front back in November.
I
Yeah,
made sure Jennifer
Had time.
worked it backwards.
Okay,
before we get to the meeting, right? Okay.
yeah. All right, then, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
second it.
Amen.
All in favor?
Thanks.